This is the Mets POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the New York Mets. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
The New York Mets have lost 9 of their last 10 games as they lose the opener of this series to the Atlanta Braves, following somewhat of a different script, but the same end result as of late. A final score of 3-2. Mets lose this opener. Welcome into the Mets POSTCAST here on the Locked On Mets YouTube channel, the Locked On Mets podcast feed. I'm your POSTCAST host, Chris Schubert, here with you after each and every Mets game throughout the course of the season. And the list just keeps growing. The list of frustrating losses. All 9 of these losses in their last 10 have been frustrating in different ways. And tonight, a little bit of a more unique way for the Mets to lose this one, because the pitching has been a main focus here of the last couple of days. Shouldn't be the main focus of this one tonight, maybe outside of the starter. The bullpen, the pitching staff as a whole, gave the Mets a chance in this one, only allowing 3 runs, chance after chance late in this game, including a Juan Soto at bat in the 8th inning to attempt to tie this game, came up short. And just another one to discuss here on the POSTCAST, and starting to run out of ways to describe how low things can get for this baseball team. Every time you think that this is going to be the game where they break out, something new seems to happen. And it felt like this one was going to be a little different. And what I mean by that is it felt like after the Soto home run, and we'll get into breaking down the game going in chronological order here in a second, but it felt like after the Soto home run that if they came back and won this game, it was going to feel different than the win on Saturday, right? The win on Saturday, the 7 home runs, the power party, that was a lot of fun. I think we all enjoyed that. We enjoyed the 7-game losing streak coming to an end. We enjoyed the offense showing up. We enjoyed the big nights from Soto and from Nimmo and Lindor. We enjoyed everybody on offense, or the big players, breaking out for this team and having that moment. This one was going to be different because if they came back at home, erased the deficit, fought in the late innings, came back to win the game, you felt like that could be the one you would circle and say, that's the game that breaks them out. They're down. They're struggling once again. They're starting to wonder if it's going to be another loss, but they battle. They fight. They scratch. They claw. They get themselves back into it with the Soto home run. They complete the comeback. Boom, away we go. Unfortunately, that's not the ending we had because the rally came up short. It came up short in the 8th inning when the Mets finally got a chance to see somebody other than Spencer Schwellenbach and had a chance there in the 8th, but it ended up not coming through as Dylan Lee struck out Juan Soto there in the 8th inning. I want to start with the pitching. I want to start with Paul Blackburn because the box score looks okay. Box score doesn't look bad, but wasn't the best Paul Blackburn start of the season.
This is what you'll be talking about.
Look, again, 3 runs, 4 2/3 innings. He didn't allow the game to get completely out of control. He didn't allow the game to go completely sideways for the Mets to where they're down 12 nothing in the first couple of innings and they have no chance of coming back in the game. He at least kept them in the game. But I just don't know how many times we can watch a start from Paul Blackburn, from Griffin Canning, from the guys at the bottom of this rotation when it follows the script the way this one did tonight. The first 3 innings, the leadoff man in all 3 innings got on base. The only one that didn't was Ronald Acuna because he was rounding the bases there in the 3rd. The first 3 innings, the leadoff guy did not make an out. You are not going to find success as a starter when you start the game, the first batter you face gets on base. The 2nd inning, the first batter you face gets on base. The 3rd inning, the first batter you face, Ronald Acuna Jr., hits one to the moon. You can try to play with fire and you can try to dance out of these issues. But the more trouble you put yourself in, the more base traffic you put on there, at some point you aren't going to be able to pull the rabbit out of the hat. You aren't going to be able to pull off the magic trick. And for Paul Blackburn tonight, he tried to pull off the magic trick over and over and over again. And at some point he got burned. And so from that premise alone, it's hard to run out Paul Blackburn again for another start. I know it's not necessarily on him, again, only allowing the 3 runs, but you're telling me that Blade Tidwell, with a full turn through the rotation and a couple more tries as a starter, he couldn't give you better? You're telling me that there's nobody else in the minor leagues, Nolan McLean, who's lighting the minors on fire with how well he's pitching. He's not a candidate. There's nobody else down there. We got to keep trotting out Paul Blackburn and Griffin Canning. It just feels like they're making roster moves everywhere else. They sent down Luis Angel Acuna. They called up Travis Jankowski. They're making constant moves with their bullpen. I don't know why you wouldn't attempt to make some roster moves with your pitching staff. I know you're getting Sean Manaea back. I know Kodai Senga is right around the corner. I know Frankie Montas is going to make his debut tomorrow. I get all that. I understand that the quote-unquote reinforcements are coming here for the Mets rotation, but they still have another spot, 2 other spots, if they go to a 6-man rotation when Senga comes back, that they're going to have to fill, and the current crop of starters just aren't getting it done. And so it wasn't the best Paul Blackburn start. It wasn't that start that he had against the Dodgers. It's not the worst Paul Blackburn start or appearance. He's had plenty of those in between. But right now, the Mets can't settle for a middle-of-the-road start. They need really good starting pitching. And unfortunately, they didn't get really good starting pitching tonight. They just got okay starting pitching tonight. And again, you thrust your bullpen into a spot where they've got to come in the 5th inning of a game and then bridge the gap. This is where you start to overwork your pen. And this is where now it's just a spiral and it keeps compounding on yourself, right? Well, your starters aren't doing well, so you have to use the bullpen. But the bullpen isn't doing well because you are overworking them. Well, you're overworking them because your starters aren't giving you length. Your starters aren't giving you length. You turn to the bullpen, and we just can continue to go round and round in circles. And they haven't found a way out of the spiral right now. They just haven't been able to play a clean game of baseball or 2 straight clean games of baseball here in a little bit. But tip the cap to the bullpen because they did their job. Jose Butto was the first man in, Ryan Stanek, Edwin Diaz. Everybody played their part in this game tonight to give the Mets a fighting chance, to give them an opportunity in the 7th, in the 8th, in the 9th, to just get 1 run across the plate to tie this game and eventually win the game. They just were unable to do it. They had chances. The 8th inning in particular was one where they had a big chance, and it ended somewhat disappointingly with that Soto strikeout. We will talk about Juan Soto, the rest of this Mets offense here, your thoughts as well, plus the stuff to keep an eye on, all on the other side. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Well, Crackin to a good source of protein with wonderful pistachios. It's one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. They've got the no shells variety, the perfect grab and go snack for those busy days. Whether you're snacking at your desk, you're on a road trip, or you just need a quick protein boost, they can be your go-to. And if you love cracking open every shell for that satisfying crunch, the in-shell options are a classic favorite. Get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about the baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. You can use FanDuel to track your favorite matchups. The app keeps it fresh, new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. Easy to use, fast to pay out, and makes even regular season games feel like must-watch events. Maybe you're placing a same-game parlay, or you're watching a bet ride into the 9th inning. FanDuel makes it feel like you are part of the action. New to FanDuel? New customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. Back here on the Mets Postcast, the Locked On Mets YouTube channel, the Locked On Mets podcast feed. Chris Schubert here with you in the Postcast, discussing another Mets loss, their 9th loss in their last 10 games, as they fall to the Atlanta Braves 3-2. A little bit of a different script tonight. Mets got the pitching overall. Wasn't a great start from Paul Blackburn. Set the Mets behind the 8 ball early. But the bullpen and Blackburn, after allowing those 3 runs, settled down to give the Mets a chance. Unfortunately, other than Juan Soto, they didn't have many grade A opportunities. Juan Soto's opposite field 2-run home run. I tweeted it after he hit the home run. Boy, is it fun when your favorite baseball team has Juan Soto on it. Just makes watching baseball more fun. And that swing felt like it energized the crowd. It energized the team. You thought that was going to be the turning point. You thought that was going to be the moment that this game turned on its head and the Mets were right back in it and they were going to get back into the win column and win this opener against the Atlanta Braves. But it was for naught, as Dylan Lee came into the game in the 8th inning, and he faced Juan Soto and a battle. Threw him a ton of off-speed stuff, a ton of sliders, a battle between the two, a fastball that Soto fouled back. And then on 3-2, he threw a slider, a breaking ball down in the dirt that Soto went after. It was a really good pitch by Dylan Lee, and Soto couldn't catch up to it and fouled away to keep the at-bat alive. And that was it. That was the real chance. In the 9th, the Mets went down 1-2-3, never threatened with anything. And listen, this offense they're not scoring a ton. I know at the beginning of the month, they were doing a great job of scoring runs, and they were doing so in bunches, right? They did that in Colorado with a big game. They did it in Philly the other night with 11 runs, but it's been a lot of just 2 runs, 1 run, no runs. I believe I saw an Anthony DiComo stat here towards the end of the game that the Mets in like 6 of their last 8 games have scored 2 runs or fewer. That's just not going to get it done. The offense needs to be better. And they had some chances in this game early that I don't want to say the Mets were unlucky, because I think that is giving them too much of an out for the way things have been going as of late. But they had a couple of things in this game where you just feel like the ball's not breaking their way. Nimmo pops one out that Riley makes a great play on, sliding into the tarp to make a play. Soto has a hard hit out early in the game. Defensively, Taylor makes a misplay on a ball to center field. It's just you're accustomed to Tyrone Taylor making every single play out there. If the ball stays in the yard, you expect Tyrone Taylor to chase it down. He missed that one out in the outfield. And then in the 6th inning, Beatty's at first base, a scorcher to Matt Olson, who steps on the bag and is able to make a great throw to second base to get Beatty for the double play. And that was right before Soto hits the home run to make it 3-2. So could have been another base runner on for Soto in that spot. So instead of it being a 2-run homer, it could have easily been a 3-run homer, tie game. And so just the little things didn't go the Mets' way tonight. And again, didn't take advantage of some spots, especially there in the 8th inning when they get their big bats up in a big spot to break the game open, to tie the game, to potentially take the lead. One swing absolutely could have done that, and Soto ends up striking out. The stuff to keep an eye on, the Mets, as we mentioned earlier, did make some roster moves. Travis Jankowski is joining the big league squad. Luis Angel Acuna was sent down, and I like Luis Angel Acuna. I love the skill set. I love the defense. I love the speed. It just felt like the Mets were unable to get him regular, ongoing playing time, and they feel like he is better off getting regular ABs down in the minor leagues. It's a very similar thing with Francisco Alvarez. They want him to just get regular, consistent ABs in a low-pressure environment and just develop and get that mental game back in a good place. Stuff to keep an eye on. You see the hat tonight. We went back to the old school hat that the MLB Game Night folks don't necessarily love. I don't know why they don't love this. This is a great looking hat. I mean, this is one of the best spring training hats, one of the best overall baseball hats that you're going to see. I mean, what's cooler than Mr. Met rocking sunglasses? So we're hoping that the cool hat, which I have not worn in a little bit, maybe this can bring back the good vibes. I will say I was not wearing it during the game. I decided to break it out for the postcast here to see if we can maybe use this as a rallying cry. And as long as the Mets keep winning, we will keep breaking out the Mr. Met spring training hat for the postcast. So want to hear from you here to close out the postcast. And we got Gigi, who says the Mets have no center fielder, third base, second base, catcher, or DH that can hit. All of our lifetime 220 hitters can't win this way unless your pitching staff is healthy and pitches well. Yeah, and we said it after yesterday's postcast. Right now, the Mets don't have a starting catcher that is hitting for a great average and driving in runs, a center fielder, a third baseman. I mean, we mentioned in the postcast yesterday, Torrens, Taylor, Mauricio, and Acuna. Well, Acuna got sent down, so now you have Jeff McNeil playing second base. They opened up that roster spot, but Torrens is this team's everyday starting catcher. Tyrone Taylor is this team's everyday center fielder. I mean, you look at the lineup tonight. The bottom 4 of the lineup were Tyrone Taylor, Jared Young, Luis Torrens, and Brett Beatty in an order, in some order, not the actual order the way I just named them, but those 4 guys at the bottom of the order. Do you trust any of those guys? Is there implicit 100% faith that those guys are going to be able to turn the lineup over and produce down there? No, there's not. You have not seen that type of consistent quality grade A production from those guys. And so when you show up to the ballpark or you sit down at home and you turn on the television and you try to watch some Mets baseball, you walk into it right now with this team having 4 guaranteed holes in their lineup, and that's no shot at these guys. Luis Torrens is a great defender. Luis Torrens was saving the Mets bacon at the start of the year with how well he was hitting offensively. So I appreciate Luis Torrens and what he is for this team. But right now, he's not hitting. Tyrone Taylor, right now, he's not hitting. Brett Beatty did have 2 hits tonight, but before that, it had been a struggle. Jared Young is their DH option. He's hitting below 200. And the Mets just right now don't have any quality bottom of the order bats. Now, tonight, You had Lindor get on base. You had Soto with the big home run. And Soto's not the problem. I mean, Soto is accounted for 27% of the Mets runs here during this losing streak. I mean, he has produced. He has one of the best OPSs, one of the best WRC pluses since the beginning of June. He has been excellent this month. This is not on Juan Soto. This is on the collective offense as a whole. Their approach isn't good with runners in scoring position. Their approach isn't good with 2 outs, and they're just too streaky right now. And when you have a streaky, listen, baseball is a streaky sport. You're going to have times where offenses go cold and then offenses are on fire and they just can't seem to make an out, right? They're just firing on all cylinders. But the problem with baseball being a streaky sport, you can't increase the variance on that streakiness by having automatic outs in your lineup. And it feels like right now the Mets have automatic outs, especially towards the bottom part. That's at least my feeling from watching it. You just know the bottom part of the lineup isn't going to turn things over for Lindor, for Soto, for Nimmo, for Alonso on a regular enough basis. Max asks, what do you think the answer is? Fire the hitting coaches, acquire some bats, both. Listen, Max, it may feel like it's too early to make a trade, but I'd be calling. I'd be seeing what teams would be willing to move. I'd call the White Sox. I know Luis Robert is a name that everybody loves to invoke. Yeah, because he fills a position of need. This team needs a center fielder. They need some power. He's got some speed. He can steal bases. It's exactly what this team needs all across the board. So, yeah, he makes some sense. I know there's probably a call for some pitching. I think this team definitely could use another starter. You've seen when their depth is tested that it's not that deep. It's not that quality. So another starter would make some sense. Firing the hitting coaches, I don't know how much that's going to do in the middle of the season. I don't have the numbers directly in front of me, but I know Texas did this earlier in the year where they fired their hitting coach. And in the immediate aftermath, the next, I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks, immediately after, their runs per game didn't change at all. Like at all. Nothing changed. So it's hard to make those type of overall team hitting philosophical approach changes in the middle of the season. Very hard to do that. And if you fire one of the hitting coaches, if you fire Eric Chavez, well, then you're just going to have Jeremy Barnes who's going to slide in. And they're probably on the same page. They're probably all following the same philosophical approach to what they want the Mets to do. So I don't know. And then is firing both hitting coaches really the thing that this team needs right now? They're not pitching. That's thing number one, although the bullpen was great tonight. And the guys just got to execute. And the bottom of the lineup is just not of quality for a team that is spending this much money on their roster. Francisco Alvarez was supposed to be a major offensive player. Mark Vientos was supposed to be a major offensive player. They were supposed to platoon Tyrone Taylor and Jose Siri out there in center field. Siri providing some pop, Tyrone Taylor providing the defense. Both of those guys actually providing the defense. Jesse Winker was supposed to be this team's DH. They're down their DH option. They're down their starting third baseman who had a great season last year and a great postseason. They're down their starting catcher. I mean, they're just down guys that they counted on when they built this roster, when they ran their models, when they put together a 26-man roster for this season. They counted on those guys performing to a certain level, and they're just not doing it. And so this team has to find a way. Guys have to step up. The big players, the big stars on this team have to carry some of the weight until reinforcements can come. It's as simple as that. And now we lead into the stuff to keep an eye on. It's Frankie Montas making his Mets debut tomorrow. And he had a very shaky minor league stint on rehab from the injury, not inspiring a ton of confidence coming into the start. And you put that on the shoulders of the Mets pitching woes as it is. And I'm sure there are a lot of nervous stomachs tonight going into that game tomorrow. So we will see if Frankie Montas can answer the call. You would love to see some solid quality innings from Frankie Montas. The Mets rotation certainly needs it, and it might give us a little bit of a reprieve, might give us a little bit of a good thing, a good sign for a pitching staff that hasn't given us a lot of good signs and good things recently. So we'll be keeping an eye on that tomorrow, and we will be right back here on the Mets Postcast to break all of that down as the Mets will look to snap another losing streak. It's now up to 2 games with this loss tonight, and they'll look to snap their losing streak against the Braves, 4 in a row that they have lost to this Atlanta team. We will break it all down. Frankie Montas's Mets debut, this lineup potentially breaking out, fingers crossed, the good luck hat potentially doing its job and sparking something. We will see. If you are new here, please subscribe, turn on that notification bell so that you are notified when we go live here on the Locked On Mets YouTube channel for the Mets Postcast. If you're listening to us over in the podcast feed, we appreciate that. Come on out and join us live. Share your thoughts instantaneously after the Mets are done. Love hearing from you immediately after all of these games. Another tough one for the Mets as, it was a different script tonight. The pitching was better. Juan Soto had a big moment, but Same result for this baseball team right now. A lot of losing. 9 of their last 10, searching for answers. And as we have said way too regularly here on these postcasts, let's hope tomorrow they can find those answers. Have a good one, Mets fans.